and welcome to the video. I hope you're all doing really well. What are these pumpkins doing here? Another pumpkin? That's so random. I'm sat in my book chat space. I'm sat in the book talking space. I'm wearing a Buffy top. There's pumpkins around me. That can only mean one thing. It is the Halloween horror thriller book recommendation video. And do you know what? I have gone in on these books, guys. If you want to be scared, keep watching because these books will scare you. If you haven't already seen my other horror thriller book recommendation video, please go and check that out after this video. There is more recommendations in there and I will actually link it here so you can just bookmark that and go straight there after this video. In this one, I've gone all out. These books hit. These all scared me so much. They're the type of books that you open up, read, and then you're like lying in bed later that evening and you see a shadow in the corner of the room and you think, what the that, and you just can't stop thinking about the book. So if that's the kind of book that you like, you're in the right place because I'm going to tell you my favourite horror books that you need to read this Halloween. So the first book is called The Assistant by S.K. Tremaine. This is actually one of my more recent reads and it freaked me the F out. This one is about this woman who lives in her friend's apartment and they have all of these Alexa type devices around the house, and as I'm sure you can guess, they start talking to her. It freaked me out so much. Whenever I was home alone, I kept thinking, oh my god, is the Alexa gonna turn on me? It's a thriller, but honestly, the premise behind this book is just really terrifying. It's about technology turning on us, and that is one of my biggest fears. It's digging up all these things from her past. It's controlling her house, so you know how they can turn on lights, turn off lights. You can ask them to turn music on. It's kind of like a ghost story almost. The next one that I'm going to recommend is actually a shorter novella. I don't often read novellas because I really like to get deep into a story, but this one gripped me. It was so good. It's called Night of the Mannequins by Stephen Graham Jones, and as you can tell from the cover, this is a creepy ass novella. Like dead ass, it is scary. Basically, it's about these kids who find a mannequin and they decide to pull a prank, and they dress up the mannequin, they go to see a film and they put the mannequin in with them, and then it gets up and walks out. The freaking mannequin comes to life, guys. What the hell? This is one of those that has like a deeper meaning, but it's so creepy. If you're scared of anything like mannequins or things coming to life that shouldn't be alive, you will love this one. It does talk about mental health quite a lot in this book. This one was really scary, and I would really recommend this one for Halloween in October time. Definitely get on it because it is really a stellar book. A stellar novella. A stellar novella. A stellar novella. I'm literally a poet. The next book that I'm going to talk about is the scariest book that I've ever read in my entire life. And that is a bold statement because, as you guys know, I am a horror person, and this was the scariest book that I've ever read. It's called Stolen Tongues by Felix Blackwell. I think one of you guys actually recommended this one to me on the comments in my last video. So thank you, whoever that was. I really appreciate it because this book me up. It was so scary. I read this when I was on holiday and me and my friends were in this. I've actually got a vlog of it. It's a Tenerife vlog, and I had my own room and I was reading this by the pool, and then because it gripped me so much I started reading it in the evening and at night, and having to turn the lights off and go to bed after reading this was the worst experience ever. It's about two characters called Felix and Faye who are engaged, and they decide to go to this cabin that Faye's parents own in this woods, and they start hearing things in the woods that are unsavory things. Basically, they can hear children crying, they can hear rustling, they can hear people talking to them, but it only gets scary when Faye starts talking back to them in her sleep. First chapter of this book, I instantly regretted buying it. I was literally reading it like, no, I should not be doing this to myself, but I could not stop. It's like when you just don't want to look away, but you have to look because it's that bad. It's so terrifying. Even the cover, look at this figure. Oh my goodness. I looked at the cover once. I'd ordered it and I was like, have I made a mistake here? I'm already scared and I've not even opened it. It's really good, guys. This is your Halloween book. If you're like desensitized to other horror, this is your Halloween book. I've mentioned this next author before in my last video. He has a book called The Shadows that I really loved. This one is just as good, if not better. I read this as a buddy read and we were freaked out. This one is called The Whisper Man and it's by Alex North. I think he's turned to one of my favorite authors because both of the books that I've read by him were amazing. The Whisper Man is about a son and father who move to a new town. They want a fresh start, as they do in these horror books. And in the past, this town has had a serial killer and he would whisper to the children through their windows, through the doors, and that's how you would get them. And one of the main characters might start hearing whispers. It was very unsettling to say the least. I'm sorry, but is there anything scarier than someone whispering through your window when you're trying to sleep? I'm sorry, but no. Whispering is creepy as it is. Whispering freaks me out, but whispering serial killers. The next book I want to recommend for Halloween is sort of a thriller, but I find it pretty scary. It's one that gripped me so much. I read it in a day. Obviously, not saying you have to read this in a day, but I literally couldn't put it down as soon as I picked it up. I read it in one sitting. It blew my mind. This book blew my mind. Everything you think you know is a lie. This book is The Last House on Needless Street by Catriona Ward. I'm so sorry if I said that wrong. This book is so twisty and wild. It's basically about a child that goes missing and you're following it from the perspective of Ted, who lives in a house near where the child went missing, and he lives with his cat and daughter. I don't want to say any more. I don't want to say any more to you about this one. It's a great Halloween read. I really don't want to say more just in case you do read it because it's a mind-blowing book. The twist in this book was absolutely crazy. I was like, what? If you've read this, please comment and let me know what you thought because I was shook. So good. Next, I want to recommend a couple of books by my favourite horror author who you all know at this point, who wrote Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires, which is my favourite horror book ever, but it's in the last video. So I have to recommend some of his other books, and the first one that I'm going to recommend is my best friend's Exorcism, which has just come out on Amazon as a film. I think it's actually out next weekend when I'm filming this, but it'll be out when the video goes, no it won't. I think it's actually out next weekend, so maybe. My best friend's Exorcism has the coolest cover ever. It's literally so retro and 80s. I'm obsessed with it. And the back as well. It's like an 80s horror film or something. I just love it so much. This is about high school students, Abby and Gretchen, who have been best friends for basically their entire lives, and they spend a night skinny dipping and one of them comes back and just hasn't acted the same since. The title is a giveaway. Yeah, it's just amazing. It has all these 80s references. It's creepy, it's autumnal. It's honestly, this would be a banger for Halloween. It gives 100%. If you're a fan of Grady Hendrix, definitely get onto this. It's gruesome. It has the great 80s pop culture references. It's just great. It's one of my favourite horror books to date and I love it. Also, I want to recommend another one by Grady Hendrix, which is kind of a cool one to read. It's one that I would get as a gift for someone because it's really awesome. So this one is called Horror Store and the book looks like an IKEA catalogue. Can you see? Like, I'm sorry, what? That's basically what it's about. It's about like a haunted IKEA and it's about these people who stay overnight to try and figure out what's been happening because they've noticed that things have been moving in the day and they'll put something somewhere and then the next day it's different, and they decide to stay overnight and see what is happening in that store. It is scary. Again, read this in a day. It's very easy to read. It's not that long and it's literally laid out so cool. Like, why would you not? Like, definitely pick this up for Halloween if you haven't read it already. Definitely get the book version. It's not like anything else that I have on my shelf. Now I'm going to move on to slasher books, the kind where you just like sit down and you want some gory fun. I'm surprised that people don't think I'm an absolute psychopath saying the things like gory fun. Like, who am I? Am I okay? Anyway, we're going to talk about slasher books now. If you're the fan of Scream films, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Halloween, these books that emulate those films, a Halloween must, in my opinion, to read a slasher. And the first one that I would recommend reading is Clown in a Cornfield by Adam Bazar. Sorry again if I said it wrong. This one is about creepy clowns. A girl called Quinn and her dad moved to a new town. That's how they always start. They always move into a new town. Honestly, I don't think I'm ever going to move because I'm too scared, because if I move to a new town then I'm gonna end up in a slasher film or something. But anyway, Quinn and her father moved to a new town, and this town is kind of like caught between the past and present. The adults are set in their ways and the kids just want to change things. They go to a party at Corn Maze and stuff cracks off. Obviously it's a slasher, so you know what's gonna go down. Pick it up. And then the next slasher that I want to talk about is one that I read really recently, and it's called Camp Slaughter by Sergio Gomez. This one again is kind of a generic slasher, but it's a must read for Halloween if you're into that kind of book. I know it's not for everyone, but I would recommend this just for some like cheap thrills, you know. Camp Slaughter is about these kids who go to party at a cabin in the woods in seclusion, and there is a cannibal lurking deep in the woods, killing people and eating them. And he kind of actually has crazy Michael Myers superpowers. He cannot be killed. He's like,
no! God, please, no! No!
He's like a machine. He can just go around plowing people down, and that's what he might do. The build up to a slasher film, and then in the last, say, 30%, it just goes. So I would recommend this one for, as I say, from cheap thrills, and you will not be disappointed. It's a slasher, you know what you're getting yourself into at the end of the day. The next book that I want to recommend is another shorter book. I think it's about 200 pages-ish, and it's actually a film now too. It's called I'm Thinking of Ending Things. This one is honestly so good. You can read this in one sitting, and I definitely did. It's about a girl and her boyfriend, and they're going home to meet his parents in a different little town, and as they're driving they're talking and things just start unraveling. When she gets there, the parents are kind of creepy, and yeah, this book had a massive twist again, like definitely a Halloween vibe. They're like driving in the dark, it's raining, the weather's bad. It's one where you could get a blanket on, sit there, light the candles, read the book, get creeped out, and then think about it for the next 4 years. Yeah, you'll never stop thinking about this one. It's wild, and if you've seen the film, you'll know the book is way better than the film, and the film is really good, so that is saying something. Another one that I would recommend, which is kind of like a slasher, it's like a 1-by-1 deal, it's called 10 by Gretchen McNeil. I'll pop it here because the book is at my dad's house. I read this so long ago. It's actually one of the first horror books that I ever read, and this is kind of what got me into the genre a little bit. I didn't know this kind of book existed before I read this. It's about this group of teens who go to this island for like a boozy party, like you know how this starts and ends. It's about, basically they go to this island for this boozy party and they're gonna live it up, and storm comes, they're cut off from the outside world, and a mysterious killer starts picking them off. What are you going to do in that situation apart from completely turn on each other? Another great Halloween read if you are into that kind of book. This one was actually really good. I think it might even be a YA, but it was really fun read, so I definitely recommend this one. It actually makes me happy talking about it because I have fond memories of reading it. Although it's a bit predictable, it's still a really good read in my opinion. Okay, it wouldn't be a thriller and horror book video if I did not mention a Riley Sager book. So the one I'm going to mention is actually my second favourite one after Survive the Night, which was in my last book video. This one is Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. It's such a great book. I actually ended up reading this until 3 in the morning, and then after that I couldn't sleep because I was so terrified that I literally, every time I shut my eyes I was just thinking about it, and I was like literally in bed like, oh my god, I'm scared. This book is about a girl called Jules who falls on hard times, unfortunately, and decides to take an offer to apartment sit in a prestigious building called the I cannot say this word, I literally can't say it, the Bartholomew Apartments. And while she's there, she meets another girl there who tells her that I'm not even going to attempt it. The apartment's block has a dark seeded past, and there is a lot of secrets in there, and before she can get any further information she disappears, and Jules is sort of left to unravel the mystery, and the mystery is freaking terrifying. It's so scary. Riley Sager, how do you even think of these things? I was shocked. The twist was impeccable, amazing. Definitely have to read this Halloween if you haven't read it already. Put it to the top of your TBR because it is really scary and a really fun read, and I wish I could read it again for the first time. Then I want to talk about a doorstop book, but definitely an amazing Halloween read. If you want to start a book now and get deep into a story and basically just read it for the whole of October, this would be a perfect book for that. It's a really long book. I think it's about 700 pages, but it's imaginary Friend by Stephen Chbosky, and the first 500 pages of this book are honestly written immaculately, so well. I will say it does lose its way a bit in the last 200 pages, but it doesn't take away from the story for me. I'm still recommending this, and I would still say it's up there with one of my favourite books that I've ever read. I opened this when I was just in the mood to be completely wrapped up in one book for a long time, and it was perfect. It's about a boy called Christopher Reese who finds himself drawn to the woods outside of his house, and while he's in there, something is telling him to build this tree house. And I don't want to tell you any more than that, because this is a complex book and it has so many great twists. It has a terrifying character. If you know, you know. There's this one scene where he's running away, and it was scary to read. Yeah, this book will terrify you, especially if you read it at night with the lights out. Just have like one lamp on and get really cozy. This book would be amazing. Like every night you could just spend like half an hour reading this book and just get super cozy in a blanket, and it would be amazing. Like me, like I want to be scared. When I pick up a book, a horror book, I want to be scared. And this managed to scare me really well. The last book that I want to talk about, I have spoken about in my favourite books ever video, which I'll pop here. Basically, this one is crazy. It's called Pretty Girls by Karen Slaughter. This book ain't about pretty girls. It ain't pretty. It ain't pretty at all. I'm telling you, this book is imagine the furthest thing away from pretty, and the book is like over here. You can't even see my hand. It's all the way over here. This book is about two sisters whose other third sister went missing when they were children or like teens, and they never figured out what happened to her. It's still a mystery. They don't know if she's died. They don't know if she's run away. They don't know if she's been kidnapped and she's still out there. But they begin to unravel that mystery, and it ain't what anyone expects. This is one of the most graphic books that I could possibly recommend. Don't think it can be topped actually for the most graphic book. It has a trigger warning for pretty much everything that you could think of that is humanly possible, but it scared me, and you guys wanted scary, don't blame me. If you read this book and you're freaked, scared, creeped out, grossed out, upset, don't blame me. I'm just the messenger. To be fair, I really like this book. It was shocking, disturbing, and yeah, I read this book at Disney World, and it was such a juxtaposition to go to Disney World in the day and then come home to the hotel and read this book. Let me tell you, I was lying in the hotel room in a double bed by myself, and it was one of those books where I was looking in the corner of the hotel room at the door like, get it on your Halloween TBR, but only if you heed my warning first. I'm not being responsible, you're on your own. Anyway, on that note, I'm going to end the video here. I don't think it could possibly get any scarier than these books that I have recommended, but if you do have any scarier books, please let me know. I would love to read some, and I love getting your guys' recommendations, like Stolen Tongues. Like, I would never have found that book without the comments on my last video, so thank you so much for that. Comment any recommendations down below. I love horror books. I hope you all have an amazing Halloween. Thank you so much for watching and for talking books with me. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already, because I'll be doing more book videos in the future, and it helps people find my channel, and then there can be more of us to talk books. I also do vlogs, so if you are cozy right now and want to put on a couple of my vlogs, I've got some autumn vlogs out that are literally pinnacle cozy, so get on that. Have an amazing day or evening depending on where you are, and I will see you in the next one. Bye guys!